the Letshuoer DX1. Let's talk about it. The DX1 is a new single dynamic driver from Letshuoer. I'm not 100% sure about the price, but right now it is at $159. I have seen some discounts that have brought that down, but so their mileage may vary when this does launch. This is a sample sent out to me by Letshuoer. Big shout out to them for sending this out. Let's start off by looking at the build quality of this lovely IEM, then go from there. For $160, I think build quality is really nice. It's a nice metal shell. It is a slight shell, which I think is kind of a good thing. I like the design of this. I feel it is comfortable, but it is small, and sometimes, I don't know, I personally am used to larger IEMs, and I find this maybe not uncomfortable, but a little bit slight, which is kind of problematic. I like the kind of hexagon around this and like the faceplate of this. The way the 2-pin cable connector comes in is a little bit of a challenge, but it holds ear tips very well. It is vented, and it's a nice overall durable, beautiful shell. It includes 3 sets of ear tips, nothing too exciting, but a fair set. I dig this case. They used this on the Mystic 8 that I reviewed recently on channel, and this is an overall nice puck style case. I mean, it's durable, it's metal, has kind of a rubbery top you can put it on, and I mean, it just fits well. If you like circular puck style cases, I think this is kind of a non-aggressive, easy style case that isn't easily dropped, which is nice. So with the cable, it's kind of hard to tell what side is right, what side is left. It's an overall kind of like silvery, shimmery cable. The chin slider stays in place really well. It has kind of a nice, pretty Y-split. Oftentimes on IEMs this price, you don't really get much of an unboxing experience, and so you get kind of a nice, pretty cable that's not tangle-free, and I mean, it looks and feels good. It's not microphonic, and it terminates in a right angle 4.4. So how does this IEM sound? Clean, clear, crisp. It has a nice open presentation, and it's not really what I would call a bass heavy set, but the mids are thick and rich, and it's a nice, clean overall sound, and I like this presentation. It feels like a presentation that really helps the vocals really kind of come across well. The mids are clean and clear. Its upper highs aren't too extravagant, and it has nice upper treble. This is a nice set for its price, and not even just for its price. I think this is just a nice overall set, and one of my favorite sets of Letshuoer. Let's look at their lineup and a few other sets. All right, let's look at the graph of this guy. I mean, overall nice graph, not a ton of treble, not a ton of bass. Usually you want this to about equal out. So it doesn't have a lot of thick, rich, slammy bass, but it's fun, it's clear, it's articulated, it's almost like a flat tuning, but the bass response doesn't really bother me. And, you know, it's not really sure why, but for me and for my taste, it does feel dynamic and clean and clear, and it's an all-around nice single dynamic driver that I think they've done a good job with, that has a nice frequency response. As we look at some of their other IEMs, you'll kind of see some design philosophy as you look at the S08, but it does have a little bit less mid-bass. This isn't really a mid-bassy set, but it's just kind of a gradual slight rise to bass, and it does it in an effective, clean sort of a manner. There's a little bit of a detail spike at around 6K, which can cause some sibilance, which, I don't know. For me, I can see how one would like one or the other. I do feel that the DX1 is a better set, but those that really like the S08, you might want to try to demo the DX1 first, because, you know, I do feel that the S08 is such a really nice nice value, but I did feel like something about the mid-range did feel a little bit lacking and a little bit off, whereas I don't get that with the DX1. The mid-range is really clean and the treble is really nice. You don't get that planar sparkly treble. It's just kind of a nice, smooth, dynamic driver style. Let's look at a few others. I mean, I look at that Letshuoer Cadenza S012, you'll notice a similar tonality, a little bit more bass with the Cadenza 12, a little bit more treble. The Cadenza 12 is a really nice set, but it's also like $2,000, so it's not really a fair comparison, but you do see some design philosophy with each other here. As we look at, say, like the Cadenza 4, I mean, the Cadenza 4 is a nice set. You know, they both kind of have that same level of bass, but the Cadenza 4 has a little bit, as they both have kind of that lower bass, the Cadenza 4 has a little bit more upper mids, and what that upper mids kind of does is it kind of makes it a little bit bright leaning. You'll notice a little bit more like 9 to 10K energy here. And so I thought the Cadenza 4 was a fine set, a nice set, but just the upper treble and just the overall flow of it wasn't as good as I would want it to be. But the fit on the Cadenza 4 is really nice, and sometimes those upper mids can be nice, but you know, depends on what you are looking for. Let's look at some other ones from their lineup. If we look at the S12 2024, these are pretty fair in comparison. I mean, you'll notice a little bit more of a gradual dip here, a little bit less, you know, this 5 to 6K energy. Just kind of a different tonality, a little bit less bass, but a little bit less treble. And so it becomes a very flat tonality, and is not something that I think everybody's going to like, but I do like it. I do think it's a really clean presentation and a really good value and a really pretty IEM to boot. So I think there's a lot to love about the DX1, and I think it presents itself as a unique IEM in their lineup. As we look at other sets right around this price, I mean, the Afu Explorer I think is really nice. Again, there's a lot of thumpy, rich bass with it, but with that thumpy, rich bass being a little bit high, sometimes we want a little bit more treble. And so what the DX1 does is just kind of relaxes that flow and feel. And I think it provides another option in case you're not looking for something like the Explorer. The Explorer is one of those ones that if you like it, it's going to be a really good value, but you might like something like the DX1, as I think is also a really good value. And I think these two really blows. As far as fit and comfort go, for me, the Explorer is by far a lot better, as I feel like the DX1, the shape of the shell doesn't really work for me. But if you're, you know, tiny ear gang, that might really help you out and be a good value for you. As we look at other ones, something like the Chopin, again, the Chopin I think is a really well executed IEM with a really nice bass, really nice upper mids. This is a really nice set that also is for people with slight ears. I think it's probably worth it to go ahead and get the Chopin if you can spend just a little bit more money, as it's a really nice set with really nice kind of sparkly details. And I think it's something that people might like a little bit better. But again, the DX1 is a really smooth, clean, clear set that I think people are going to like as well. Another set that I like, the Aether. I think the Aether is a lot of fun. It has a really good details and sparkle, a little bit more bass. It's just a fun planar. For me, for planars, this is about the same price. If you're looking for a planar, the Aether is what would get my recommendation. But if you're looking for a dynamic driver, and maybe just a little bit richer tonality and less like sparkle and detail, I think the DX1 is a very, very clean and good set. But there are a lot of options at this price, and it makes a lot of our choices difficult. Personally, for me, if I were to go a little bit more, I would go something like the Performer 7. You'll notice a few of these peaks are like evened out just a little bit more upper treble here. It kind of adds a zing with the Performer 7, which is going to kind of throw people off, but a little bit more fun bass. And so it's kind of one of those sets that you can tell it's like, they maybe call it a U, like there's a little bit more here and a little bit more here as well, kind of rising that U-shaped style set. That's kind of my baseline if you can afford to go a little bit more. But again, this region, the treble on any set, it becomes problematic with anything. And if the treble works for you, it's a great set. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And the P7 trebles works for me, and I think it's fantastic. But I think the DX1 kind of reminds me of just having a nice, flat, clean, grounded sound. And I think for its price, I can't really think of anything like this, as it's unique and special in its own way. I recently got to review the Illustrious, and it's from Moondrop. It's $900. I don't know. There is a clarity and a detail about that, like a pristineness that, like, only the fanciest and nerdiest audiophiles can go with. But I mean, if you look at this and look at what I usually gravitate towards, I mean, it's a little bit more mid-bassy. Its sub-bass is kind of lacking. It just has a lot of treble, and it's a little bit V-shaped spikes here. And for me, like, these two trade blows amazingly well. And I was actually A-Bing them a lot versus each other. And I think, if someone came up to me and was like, here, listen to these, tell me which one's more expensive, it would be really hard for me to justify the $900 versus the $200. But I mean, I can see how people would go for it for something like the Illustrious over the DX1. But sonically, for me and for what I believe in my philosophy, they really trade blows, which is a huge thing to say about the DX1. And I think they did a fantastic job in the fact that it can compete against IEMs that are much more expensive. The Odyssey is another one that a lot of people recommend, which is a little bit more traditional set. My problem with the Odyssey is I felt that the treble was a little bit, just the air and detail wasn't that great. I feel like the DX1 kind of has that a little bit more dialed in and tuned better. The Odyssey, I think the mid-range and the bass response is a lot of fun. And so if you like that from the Odyssey, it represents a really good value. Like, it's a very clean, clear, well-designed IEM that people are going to like. And I think it's going to have a lot of lasting power in Ziget's lineup. But again, the DX1 is cheaper. You're probably going to find it on sale. It's sold by Linsel. You can probably get $50 coupons on it. And it just looks like $1 million, whereas the Odyssey just kind of looks like, I mean, I hate to say it, but a Ziget. I mean, the Ziget IEMs have all been more or less the same without a whole lot of difference other than the sonic differences in between them. All right, let's rank this guy up. How do I feel about it? Look, tuning across the board is really, really well done. It's not perfect, but just the overall flow and feel to the music and sound is really nice. Its imaging is not perfect. I feel like there's a few things where I wish there was a little bit more bass emphasis. I don't really feel it has this majestic soundstage, but it has nice note weight, kind of this thumpy, rich, organic, bassy driver in it. It becomes like, for me, it becomes a really good option as that $120 space. Like, a lot of sets to me, like, they just have too much upper mids or not up enough upper mids. And this one just has that really well balanced tuning philosophy where nothing is really too bad or too great, and it becomes kind of a nice, flat, slightly energetic set with some nice detail and some great things going on about this set. And it gets a strong recommendation, especially at its price, but with some caveats that I think, we've talked about with fit. I love it when we get sets that are new, that can compete against sets that are way more expensive. This set, I think if you showed this to other people and showed this to what it looks like, it has a great deal of kind of buyer value. It looks and feels unique. It's a nice set, very strong build quality, really reasonable price, and it just looks and feels great and fantastic in ear and has a great sonic quality. I think for those people that are in the mid-fi market and looking for a set that's reasonable in price and this looks appealing to you, I think this is something that you can easily go for, and that's a really safe recommendation. Is this going to be for everyone? Again, we've talked about some of the caveats, but I think this is one of the better IEMs that I've listened to this year, and I'd have to say that I really dig it, and I really think you guys should try it or at least demo it given the opportunity. Thanks for watching my video. If you guys have any questions, comments, let me know in the comments below. And I hope you guys have a great day. Bye-bye. You're still here. It's over. Go home. Oh, you're expecting a teaser for our next video. Well, we don't have that kind of money. What are you expecting? One of those store reviewers to show up in a saucy little leather number? Go. Oh, I can tell you one thing. We are going to have a collab video. We have no idea what it's going to be. Probably Kryn, maybe Chris, or Joyce. Don't deny it. She's got range. Go. Get out of here. Go.
Go!
Go.
Go on with you!